What up, world? This your boy News, representing Ringside Rave all day. Y'all know what it is with me, man. Today, we got episode 47 of the Fade Hour, where we're going to talk about, or we're going to question, does Hurd's run, his impressive streak lately at 154, does it continue versus J-Rock, or does the train stop here? Then we're going to get into Miguel Berchelt. I don't know if you guys seen the first fight, but this Saturday, it's a rematch versus Francisco Garcia. And their first fight was
Francisco Vargas, bro. Vargas.
I'm sorry, Francisco Vargas. Listen, man, today's my off day, so I've been faded all day. This has been the fade all day. You know what I mean? So, Fade fans, I don't know if y'all won't know, but before the show, I was like, how you say his name? Is it Berchelt? Like Michelle? And
but you fucked up the other dude's name.
Listen, man, I'm just here for the hands to be thrown. I'm just excited that we finally got some good boxing back in the air. I was telling Pat before the show, like, man, I forgot all about this fight. I wouldn't have been complaining last week if I knew this was coming down the pipeline. So we're going to get into a little bit of that. And then we're going to give Pat a little bit of time to address some people, some Pat Scorpio haters will say, that have a problem with his takes on the PBC universe. So we're going to get into that before we end the show. But y'all know me, man. It's your boy News. Got the Sour Diesel tonight, so I'm feeling real uplifted. I'm swinging around the table. Pause to the fellas. Let the people know what we doing.
What up, y'all? It's your boy Smoke from at Free Smoke Boxing, and the birthday cake is in the fridge, and we got out some OG Kush. So we're gonna keep it original, and let's get to it.
Yo, what's good, y'all? Pat Scorpion, the New England representative. And I'm just chilling here with my glass of Merlot as usual. That white Zinfandel, was a little different and whatever. It was a little stronger than I expected, so I had to pause. Yeah, so I had to go. I'll switch back to my Merlot for the night. So let's get to this.
Yo, what up? What up? It's your boy P, repping Ringside Rave and Bodega Boxing. And tonight, I got the monster on deck because the motherfucker running on 3 hours of sleep, so I'm gonna need my energy for this shit.
Yes, sir. So, like I was saying, y'all, so we got Miguel Berchelt this weekend. 2 years ago, in January 2017, him and Francisco Vargas put on one of the best fights of 2017. All action. Berchelt took Vargas's belt, took his O, and was pretty impressive. This Saturday, though, they're running it back. Berchelt coming into this fight, stopping 13 of his last 14 opponents. Vargas only 2 fights since he fought Berchelt 2 years ago. However, and the most important factor of this is that it's a rematch against 2 Mexican fighters. So it's gonna be action. How y'all feeling about this fight, man? I'm turned up. I'm ready for it.
Man,
it's gonna be action. It's gonna be action, but I honestly not sure it will live up to the first one. Because the first one was, oh my god. And I always have a rule of thumb, like whether it be boxing or movies. Usually, when the first one is great, the second one rarely follows up. So, but I think it'll still be good in its own right.
It can't get any worse than some of the stuff we've had this year. You know what I'm saying? So, this fight is we'll know for sure how much Francisco Vargas has left in the tank. As we all know, literally, Duke came on the scene on the Canelo Cotto card. Him facing Miura in that war, and then after that, faces Salido in another war, and you're like, and then. At that, he loses to Berchelt. You rarely see a fighter get deteriorated like that within the span of 3 fights. But he had those 2 fights. He knocked out Rod Sucker, who had them trunks on or whatever.
He deserved it, right?
And he deserved it. He got his ass beat too, and I applauded that too.
By a Mexican fighter, how ironic.
Yeah, exactly.
Stupid dude.
Good for him. And So yeah, it'll definitely be good to see how much he has left. I mean, the first fight, I mean, he bled buckets against Berchelt. I mean, this shit was a super war, and he had to stop that shit because he was bleeding so much. And so I mean, we may see like another ESPN like closet classic with those two. So like, I'm excited for sure. Smoke. Smoke already high as shit.
Yo, so that's funny that I come back to that because I told y'all that I was dipping out for a second. The first fight between them was lit. I'm stunned that it was actually 2 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, things have changed. Like 130 at that time, like
I mean, wasn't that fight on HBO?
yeah, that was on that card where I was kept on raving about because it was so fucking bloody between that and the Mirror fight and the Roman fight because it was all violence. I was like, man, this is to boxing after dark.
Yeah, I mean that. I remember that card, and I remember. I haven't watched those fades in a hot minute, but I'm sure you guys were talking that the rematch should live. I mean, we would hope
think it
would
will.
live up to the hype. I mean, we got a Cinco de not fucking good last weekend,
Yeah.
so hopefully they can make a. And for everyone listening, that's Spanish for Cinco de Mayo that sucked. The translation. So hopefully they can make a reprieve of it because honestly, I don't want to get too much into it. But boxing's been like depressing recently unless you're making money off of it.
Right.
Well, with these two guys, man,
Yeah,
you know, they coming in,
yeah.
you know, to set the record straight. That's what I was saying. Like the fact that it's two Mexican fighters, the fact that they've already fought, the fact that Berchelt was the one that took Vargas's belt, the one that took his O. That puts a little more, you know.
Yeah, he took his belt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I said
I
he took his girl too. I mean, he took his O. He took his belt.
Yeah.
I just have the feeling that Vargas is a bit shock worn because he's been through a lot of wars, and isn't he coming off a long layoff? Like when was the last time he fought? Like
I think the Stalker fight was his last
Yeah,
fight.
when
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say
Yeah.
I haven't. The last fight I saw him was with Rod Salka, and I don't think he's fought since.
Oh, Rod Salka named.
Wasn't that like last year?
19.
Yeah, it was like last year sometime.
Yeah, that was like what was it? 2018? Oh yeah, it was like 2000.
April last year.
Oh, okay. That felt like 2017 to me, right? That's how long it's been. So we haven't seen him since. So
Yeah, it's been over a year since he's last been in the ring.
I mean, maybe the time off did him some good, but who knows?
Well, they're at 130, right? I mean, how old are these dudes?
Yeah, they're 130.
Yeah.
Vargas is 35. I mean 34.
Yeah, and so
Berchelt's like 27, I think.
He's like, yeah, I think he's like 28. So I'm like, yeah, he's young.
Yeah, Berchelt is actually is probably in his prime right now. So
yeah, so I just I did a quick little Google search, and the first article that pops up is Berchelt promises fireworks drama in Vargas rematch. So I mean, if he says that, that means that they're not even gonna attempt playing defense or anything like that.
no.
Oh man,
I think Berchelt's gonna beat his ass.
This is definitely a fade-hour type of fight. Like pop open a brew, pour up a drink or something, and just if you just want to see, like I said, two fighters. Like, of course, you're going to see some skill. You're definitely going to see skill from Berchelt's side of the things, but that's going to end when Vargas puts the pressure on. Like Vargas is not there to.
Oh really?
Yeah, he's not there to box. Like for real.
Who do you
Like
think's
he's
gonna
not
win?
trying to see who got more skills. He's trying to see who got more heart, and that's what we're going to see. And what about this? Remember, Tevin Farmer was calling out Berchelt after this.
That'd be a good fight.
So, it would, but who isn't Tevin Farmer calling out?
I mean,
he's on video.
I mean, he's even calling out. He's even calling out you, telling you to stop hating.
Yeah, he's telling you to stop hating, and it's like, no, Kevin, if I get down to 130, shit's gonna be nuts. I would get my ass whooped, but I'd show up. But like he was barking on JoJo Diaz and like screaming at Tank in his face. And Tank is about to fight another. Well, we won't get into that. But this fight should be lit. We should actually probably go live for that.
And then,
yeah. If I'm available, we can definitely do that for sure.
And also as well, I mean, it's a double head too. So we're also gonna see another rematch from another fight from last year with Isaac Darbe, facing Emmanuel Navarrete. I mean,
man.
Yeah, that fight last year was, I think it was like ESPN's like last big major fight or whatever. And Darbe was riding a crest of like success. Like he was up there. Like he was probably in candidate for fighter of the year. And he took this fight.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he took this fight he didn't even have to take, but he took it. And then unfortunately, it was a war, but it was a war that he lost, and he lost badly.
I think in terms of war, I mean, Dogbay's face had a war with Navarrete.
Was it a war?
Glove.
I don't look like a war. That looked like a.
He landed like 10 good punches on the Mexican dude.
Yeah, no.
Remember, and no, Pat, you're right, because do you guys remember the hype that Dogby had going into that fight?
Oh yeah,
right. All that chanting and stuff that he was doing.
What was it?
Was it Niho?
Niho, yeah, something like that.
Nihai or Niho or something.
Man, listen, man. He needed to be calling for the medic because that he got his ass whooped in that fight.
It's like his dad left him in there because he left on the air conditioning in the hotel room the night before or something.
Like,
I mean, I wasn't raised in a Guyanese household, but
Ghanaian.
Oh, Ghanaian.
Yeah, I said Ghana, not Guyana. One of them is in Africa, and the other one is.
So I picked up those sayings from Raekwon. I don't know where.
I picked them up from Raekwon. Play with the chef. But no, man.
Anyway.
I don't see him getting a W. I see him taking another L. When you get thoroughly beat up like that's not like a one punch knockout. That's not like my power beat you up. That's just
that's
like I don't see how you come back from that and reverse the outcome when you got beat up that bad. Like,
right. I mean, honestly, I thought he should have taken like a soft, just one soft touch, just to see where he's actually at instead of going back in the ring with him. But some people like to throw themselves to the fire, man. What can you say?
Well, so
it'll be a hell of a card.
Yeah, so the big difference to me between Dogbe and Navarrete, I think, is the dude he's fighting, is kind of the height differential, right? Like it's like 5'7" or 5'2".
Yeah.
A couple of us have sparred before and done things like that. And so, Pete, did you ever spar someone that was like 4 to 5 inches taller than you? And how difficult was it if you did?
I don't think. I mean, at the most, they were maybe about 2 inches taller than me, but never. I haven't fought anyone who was like a basketball player's height, like an NBA.
Yeah,
like that.
I was gonna say Pat's like 6'4", so you'd be hard pressed to find. You'd be hard pressed to find somebody that's like Wilder's height available just in a boxing gym.
Right.
Oh, remember the one time that Shaq was in Connecticut and he was going to spar Pat?
That's silly.
But no, that reached it because I've sparred people like taller than me, like 6'3", 6'4", and that's really hard because you got to get their reach is so much more. So you got to get beyond a stiff jab and get inside, and then you get inside and you got an uppercut waiting for you. So that's not fun.
Pete, so just real quick for the people that might not know what you mean, when you say get inside, what do you mean, and how would that give you an advantage?
What I mean get inside is to try to get in close quarters with him, inch up closer to him, that I'm right in his face, right in his chest, because a lot of times a lot of taller people, not always, but a lot of taller people have issues when it comes to fighting in close quarters with a smaller guy because they can't really use their punching advantage because they're too close in. So you don't really get length on your punches like that when your opponent is inside and you're tall and the guy is like 4 or 5 inches shorter than you. That's an advantage for the shorter guy if he's closer inside. You want to keep the shorter fighter out on the outside at range to where he's like at the end of your punch. So
Right.
Okay, hold on. I want to use that because this Saturday we have a situation similar to that, and I want to see how you guys have it playing out because we have Jared Hurd putting his belt on the line versus J-Rock, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
Jared Hurd loves to fight on the inside. He's the much bigger, much taller fighter, in this fight.
Well, Jared Hurd actually does fight pretty well on the inside for a guy with his size, his height. He does fight well on the inside. So I wouldn't really consider him that.
Oh no, I was gonna say, how do you think the fight's gonna go, just in general? Jared Hurd versus J-Rock.
I think I like J-Rock. I do. I think he has skills, but it's just a matter of I can't see him just surviving. When you're dealing with a guy like Hurd, you're going the distance. That motherfucker is like Jason Voorhees. You know what I'm saying? You can run from him for the first couple, get away from him, but eventually he's gonna catch you. So, and then what happens when he catches you? And I just can't see him withstanding the punishment from Hurd. So it's gonna be a slow one. It'll be like a late round stoppage.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree because the only way J-Rock can at least try to give himself some, try to find a way at least to get himself in the fight and try to win the fight is to bank the early rounds when Hurd's activity is not where it needs to be, because he's a slow starter. And but I know he's gonna be doing a lot of movement because Hurd moves in a straight line. He'll move straight at you.
Yeah.
He can cut off the ring, but he's very much he moves in one direction with his hands, going.
Yo, so here's something that if you didn't look at unofficial weigh-ins, like weigh-ins before the fight, that you wouldn't even think. So everyone knows that Jarrett Hurd loses a lot of weight when he's cutting. Like, we guesstimate between what Pat, you're pretty good at this, pause. Like 30 pounds, right?
At least
in his last week, and he's put videos up on Twitter of him losing 9 pounds overnight. But people wouldn't know this. J-Rock rehydrates to like 185 on fight night, and so I think that if J-Rock had if J-Rock had a chin that hadn't been, Shahrukhin by fucking Big Charlo, I think he would have a good chance because when Hurd fought that cat from Australia, it was like the first until he threw that knockout punch, like he was getting hands placed on him, pause. And the dude was much smaller than him, like in less good shape. And so I don't know. I think that Hurd's vulnerable in the first 8 rounds of a fight.
Yeah, the only thing that I will say even about like the chin thing with J-Rock is, to be fair, I think I give him a chance of lasting longer with Hurd because I do think that Charlo has power. Charlo has that one punch power, especially with that uppercut, and he has a stiff, hard right hand. So Hurd. No, I'm not saying Hurd doesn't hit hard, because Hurd hits hard, but he puts his punches together and gives you bunches of punches, and then the combinations of punches accumulation wears you down throughout the end of the fight. He's not going to get you out of there with one punch. If J-Rock can plan that and try to at least he's got to conserve his energy, but if he can stay out of range of the punishment, then maybe he has a better chance. But I just don't know if he's going to be able to I don't know if he's going to be able to keep that up, that stamina.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that Jarrett Hurd has not that great punching technique, to be honest with you guys. And so I think a lot of the punches that he lands are not at maximum force. And that's why it seems like when he's coming on, it doesn't seem like, but when he comes on in the later rounds, I think that's when he's actually starting to like put his weight behind his punches. And that's why he seems so fresh in the second half of the fight.
I don't know, man. It's like I'm I'm confused.
About
Like because I don't know where to properly rank J Rock. You know,
Yeah,
like
because it's unfortunate that he really all he's known is just getting knocked out by Charles. I mean, I was there for that. It's just like in his other fights after that, he hasn't.
he looked good. He looked good against Ishe Smith, but he didn't look that good against Nathan Gallimore.
Yeah, no, because he's.
You know
I
what I
was
mean?
going to say, who doesn't look good against Ishe Smith these days?
So it's like, but I think that he has talent. I think that he has skill. But then again, at the same time, there's always champions and there's challengers. There's consistent multi-champions, and then there's challengers that end up turning into gatekeepers. And like, I don't want to say that it's going to make him a gatekeeper, but if J Rock goes out without a fight in this one, like I was against Charlo, he's officially gatekeeper status because he doesn't have that win that puts him at that elite level. So I'm hoping I'm not picking him to beat Hurd. I don't think he's going to be able to beat Hurd. I don't think he's going to be able to beat Hurd. I think it would be. I'm hoping it'll be a competitive fight. I'm just hoping that the Chan thing with Charlo was just a perfect counter that he didn't see. You know what I mean? Something like that.
I don't think I don't want to say that J Rock will be a gatekeeper, but I do think, and I like J Rock, but I think he maxes out as a quote unquote a tier 2 guy, a guy just below the elite guy, a solid guy like a B guy, not an A fighter, but a B fighter. I think he can contend for a title. I think he can contend, but I don't think he can beat the top guys.
That's a gatekeeper, P.
I don't know. I don't really
That's
look
a
at.
gatekeeper. That's that
true.
guy that gives you. That's that guy that gives the champion a tough fight, but he never becomes a champion himself. And in order for you to prove that you're a champion, you got to be able to beat him to show you can be a champion. You know, that's what fighters end up turning into. And that's why I think that if J Rock, if it's competitive, like I said, if it's a competitive fight where Swift got to work for it, then that's a lot different because then I like to see J Rock back against the winner of Jermell Charlo and Tony Harrison then. That's why I'm asking that because he's still an enigma because even after the Jamal Charlo fight, where if we try to write it off as like I said, a no-look uppercut that caught him perfectly with a counter, okay. But he doesn't still have that victory that would cause me to really believe in him yet, but he has the talent that makes me want to believe in him. If you get what I'm saying, it's like
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. The reason why I didn't want to call him a gatekeeper, I get what you're saying with it, but I mean, I guess we look at gatekeeper different. I look at a gatekeeper as a guy that you feed to the guys that are up and coming as a test to see if they're really real or not. And those are like a gatekeeper is a guy that if you're legit, you should beat them. And I don't look at J Rock as just like somebody that you throw to that. I think that he can contend. I just don't think he's an elite guy. So I think he'll get beat by the elite guys. But I think anybody under elite, he can definitely beat.
Well, I think that J Rock is in the same class as Erickson Lubin.
Erickson Lubin has more potential than Jay. Erickson Lubin has tier 1 potential, so to speak. Whether he gets there or not, that's a different story. But I think he has tier 1 potential. I think J Rock maxes out as a tier 2 guy. I don't think he'll get like at the highest of high. I don't think he'll ever be top guy in his division.
I think that his skill set could lead him to be a level fighter, but I don't think it'll happen. But I think it's possible. But
I mean, you never
I
know.
don't know.
Sometimes you might catch a break. I mean, we've all seen it. Like before, like someone who's been like Caleb Truex of all people. Like he got knocked out in the first round by Anthony Durrell. He got KO'd by Danny Jacobs, and then he happens to catch James DeGale at the right time, and bam, he had a run the super middleweight champion. You know, it happened. You know.
Yeah, but we don't really respect fighters like that. Like, you know, like I'm sure you're not training in the gym. I mean, I know you want to be a champion by any means necessary. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a boxer, so before you start with the you don't box this, that, and the third, you know, that's how people do. But I'm sure you don't train every day and run, you know, and condition yourself to be abused for a couple years and then finally become a champion that nobody cares about or respects or thinks really like you a placeholder champion until a real champ comes and knock you off. Like, no.
Yeah, nobody wants to be the Mick Foley of boxing.
The Mick Foley of boxing. I told you, man, it's them WCW TV champions. That's what they are. But
yo, there was some classic TV champions, man. You know, there was some, you know, them title fights.
No, they were, and a lot of them were great champs, but they were just looked at as a tier under because they're not considered the guy.
Exactly.
So, hey, J-Rock better let them hands go, man. Hurd is there to be hit. Mm-hmm. He likes to be, well, you know, nobody likes to be hit, but he's there to be hit. He likes to go back and forth in the ring. So J-Rock better be letting his hands go. I think there is a possibility he could win, but it's really going to depend on his ability to take a punch.
Hurd,
because he does get rocked in a lot of fights.
Hurd's susceptible to the uppercut, and so
I mean,
yeah, I know. It sounds ironic, but Hurd, the way he fights, with the way that he holds his elbows, he's real susceptible to getting hit by the uppercut. So if J-Rock kind of wants to fight on the inside, which I really think he needs to mix it up, start from the outside, work his way in, then back out. You know, a typical boxing, a boxer who has the reach advantage is planned. But I'm just saying, if he goes to the inside, he can land the uppercut on Hurd all day because Hurd can't block it. I mean, we saw against Lara that he couldn't.
So how we picking the fight then? Name your picks.
I got it.
I'm picking Hurd.
Yeah, Hurd for sure.
I got Hurd by late stoppage.
Ditto.
I think that J-Rock is going to give him trouble, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, J-Rock will probably make things hot for at least the first half of the fight, and I think he's just gonna wear out, as you know, and then like I said, Hurd will eventually stop him. I think it'll probably be a body shot too. That'll probably put him down.
Yeah, I have it the same. I think that's gonna happen too. I think that Hurd's gonna outwork J-Rock. I don't like picking stoppages. It's almost disrespectful to pick a stoppage, but I'm gonna say Hurd by unanimous decision. 9 rounds to 3 type of domination, clear dominant victory. I think J-Rock's gonna start off fast. I do think J-Rock's gonna start off fast. The first fight, I think it could be arguably J-Rock's. He's gonna start off fast because Hurd always starts slow. But then by the 3rd round, that's when the train's gonna pick up. And it's the same thing that happened with Wilburn, as a matter of fact. We were just talking about Jason Wilburn. Mm-hmm. Wilburn, even in that fight, it still only went 4 rounds.
Yeah.
Like, that's what Hurd does. He just turns it up.
So do you guys think it'll be like similar to the Trout fight? Like how it ends up like playing out? Because I could see the Trout, like how the Trout, a lot of people felt like Trout was winning until
he was. Trout was doing really good, but I think he just got wore out from just having to push this nigga around. So that's the thing. And it wasn't the punches that were really rocking him. Like he barely had enough energy to like stand on his feet. He was like sliding over the ring, you know. Like,
I don't know, man. I just want to see her get this victory. It's not that I'm rooting for either of them, but I just want to see her versus Charlo. I'm sorry. I mean, now if J Rock wins, you know, then I like to see J Rock versus the winner of Charlo Harrison, but I'm really still anticipating Jerry Hurd versus Jamel Charlo. So I want to see that happen. And speaking of fights being anticipated that we haven't seen, like I don't know why we haven't seen Jerry Hurd versus Jamel Charlo when they're both signed to PBC, both with the same networks, fights that could have been made and we didn't get it. But
There's still time. It was supposed to be made, but it should have been the next fight. But unfortunately, Mr. Tony
that's what
Harrison.
happens.
Wait, no,
Tony
no, no.
Harrison.
Wasn't Harrison a Mando?
I
Man, Hurd was already calling for the fight.
Yeah,
Like Hurd didn't
Yeah, I
just start
know
calling
that
for him when
Yeah.
Harrison became Mando. He'd been calling for that fight.
yeah,
But
but so here's my thing. Charlo, for whatever reason, little Charlo at the time didn't want to fight him, wanted to take his mandatory on, and he came into the fight unprepared. And so if you go back and watch that fight, okay, I don't see Tony Harrison winning the way that they scored it, but I could
don't know.
see, I could
I
see
didn't see him winning at all.
I could see it
yeah, I
being
had
a
Jamel
draw.
Charlo winning too.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I
go ahead.
went back and I watched that fight like 2 or 3 times, and
I was there live. I was there live for it.
Yeah, no, for sure. But different eyes and so on and so forth. Anyway, I think that's what the penultimate fight is supposed to be, is Charles versus Hurd, and I think they're trying to build it.
Yeah, it unfortunately lost its luster when Charlo lost his zero in a fight he shouldn't have lost his zero, and Harrison has already lost to Hurd. So it's just like if Harrison beats Charlo again, then that's the fight that needs to be made. And I don't know if people want to see that again.
I don't think it lost its luster simply because most people, the general consensus is that Charlo that should have won that fight. So if he beats Tony Harrison this time and then they fight just because he lost his officially Charlo, then I don't look at it as he lost his luster because since neither of them are both undefeated, then it loses its luster. But you could really legitimately say that Charlo should be undefeated. You know what I'm saying?
I'd say it lost its luster a little bit, but not because of the Tony Harrison fight. Because again, I did think Jamel Charlo should have got the victory over Tony Harrison. But I think that regardless of if he won the fight or not, he lost his luster during that fight because it wasn't as clear as we thought Jamel Charlo was going to do a Tony Harrison.
Right. It wasn't like a separation.
And then, go ahead, Pat. Well, no, let me finish. Let me say this. Because not just the Tony Harrison fight, though. Before that, against Trout, was the fight directly before that. He didn't look good against Austin Trout. Well, and so it's like he had 2 performances back to back where he didn't look anywhere like he could be a dominant champ at all at 154.
Right. And then, go ahead.
To be fair, Trout is a wily veteran that he gives all these guys trouble. Like all 3 of them, he gave both Charlos trouble. A lot of people felt that he beat Big Charlo, and most people feel he was beating Hurd before Hurd stopped him because he ran out of gas. So I mean, I don't take much from that fight because it's Trout, and Trout's still a tough out regardless. But I get what you're saying.
Okay, well let me say this too also, and like I said, that was the Trout. Before that, he got the win over Erickson Lubin, right?
Mm-hmm.
He got the win over Erickson Lubin. Before that, he got the W over Charles Hatley, who before Jamel Charlo was scheduled to fight him, nobody was talking about Charles Hatley.
No.
Like, so it's not like it was a great victory. Nobody was talking about Charles Hatley before. Nobody's talking about Charles Hatley after.
To be fair, Charles Hadley is not a bad fighter. He's
not a bad fighter, but he's not a good fighter. He's a all right fighter. You know, like he's in between.
He's known for his amateur wars with Keith Thurman.
Right. And then hold on, before that, it's like he had trouble with John Jackson. Now he did get the stoppage in that fight. Yeah, but he also had trouble with John Jackson. So if you actually look at Jermell Charlo's resume and not just count the W, but actually remember the fights as they break down, he really hasn't shown the level that we've seen Jarrett Hurd fighting at. And so with him taking that fight against Tony Harrison and not looking dominant at all in there, like I said, and then the Trout, then it's like that's where the luster, because you got to start looking a little deeper into it. So this performance against Tony Harrison in June, it's really going to matter, because if he gets a struggle decision over Tony Harrison again, it's really not going to make us anticipate him versus Hurd.
And then also on with Tony Harrison is like before that Charlo fight, he fought Ishe Smith on bounce and he won a split decision. Like he almost lost to Ishe Smith. So that's why I was even like, this should be I was thinking there was going to be a huge separation between Charlo and Tony Harrison. And that's why I was surprised that it went the way it did. The fight, I mean, and in a knockout of any sort.
Well, to be fair, News, I will say with all respect, I think you were doing a little bit of a disservice by going that far with John Jackson, because that was way long ago, and that was before Hurd was anywhere near the scene. That fight was anywhere near being talked about or on the horizon. So if we're using that, then we might as well just say the fight should have never had any luster to begin with, the matchup, because we could have said,
that was just 3 years ago, though. And that's crazy. And that's another thing. And I want to get into that before we end the show tonight, because we're getting about to 11 o'clock. It's 10:51 Eastern time right now. So we're saying it's that long ago and all that. That was 3 years ago, right? But in reality, that was just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fights ago for Charlo. 5 fights in 3 years. You know what I mean? And so I say that because, again, Charlo is a PBC fighter. And our fellow Pat, he got accused of being a PBC hater. You know, and I wanted to give him the opportunity to address all the people who say he's a PBC hater. But I want to let him get the floor to explain his thoughts on PBC, what he's been saying from day one about PBC, and how he sees it playing out now, and why he feels that he's justified in what he's been saying about PBC. So, Pat Scorpio, you had the floor.
Thank you, my good man. So yeah, pretty much my thoughts on PBC. I mean, we'll just to provide some context. I mean, we'll take it back to 2013, and that was where most of the PBC fighters were under Golden Boy, and Golden Boy also was doing the matchmaking. And 2013 was a great year for boxing, not just for HBO, but also for Showtime too. Like the ended with Broner and Maidana. So you're thinking, oh, there's so much momentum going on there. Like, you know, people on Showtime, you know, we're going to 2014, and it's going to be on some good shit. But then the split happened within Golden Boy, and you know, several of the fighters who are now with PBC walked away from their Golden Boy contracts, and you know, the seeds were being sown for PBC, and in doing so, some of these fighters were participating in what we call mismatches. Big time mismatches. I mean, an example, of course, would be Danny Garcia versus Rod Selka. And you know, I was not happy about that. I mean, it was one thing that HBO seemed like their fights were getting to that, you know, they were getting, you know, their fight quality was going down. But Showtime, which actually had the fighters, they were, you know, that people wanted to see, their fights, it was just mismatches. And it was like, we were like, well, like, what the fuck are they doing? You know, it's like they're trying to kill Showtime. I mean, you know, it's bad when Lucas Matisse and John Molina was the fight of the year for 2014. You know what I mean? That's not good. You know, and I'm a fan of Lucas Matisse, but there should have been better fights that could have been made that should have gotten that. So anyway, 2015, you know, PBC is born. You know, they're like, hey, we're gonna bring pay-per-view level fights to network TV. cool. You know, I remember watching Boxing Network TV before on ABC. You know, every now and then NBC and whatnot. So yeah, first couple of cards, like, okay, you know, some potential going on there. You know, here there, and then afterwards they started resorting back to form. You know, you get fights like Robert Guerrero versus Jobber, the Jobber that almost knocked him out on national TV. And then then after it just started this string of mismatches. And PBC was spreading all of this on not just on NBC, but on CBS and on Fox and Bounce. They were all, on Spike. They were all over the place. And it was just constant mismatches. Now everyone's like, okay, no, it's Heyman, it's something new. And that's fine. But it's just like no one wanted to say that there's some horrible mismatches going on these cards. Like these are like Donna Stevenson and fucking Tommy Carpensi, or fucking or Delvin Rodriguez, or Quillen almost killing that guy on national TV. You know,
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, he went on a
Wasn't it the
yeah.
And wasn't it a stripper dude?
Yeah, it was a stripper dude.
Zarefa, Michael Zarefa, I believe it was.
Yeah. And it was just horrible mismatches. And I'm like, and I used to say that like these cats are getting paid, and they're getting paid a lot of money. I was like, these cats are getting paid too much money. They're not fighting the way they're supposed to. Like some of these cats, their development is going to get fucked up. You know, and no one wanted to hear me. They were like, "Oh no, Pat, you're just saying this is preserving. Like it'll be good. The fighters will get more money." But I'm like, watch, like they're gonna get adverse to risk. They're not gonna fight the way you guys think they're gonna fight. And then it continued, and it's really started, and it reared its head definitely in 2016, when it was just like nothing was really popping off on that time on Showtime or anything like that. And that's why I was like, hey, I told you so. It's like, I think fights weren't happening. Like, this is where I know where Gary Russell, people were like, okay, Gary Russell's not fighting. He's fighting once a year. Or Danny Garcia, he's not moving right. You know, and I was like, this is what's happening. They're getting paid a lot of money to do this. Like, Al's taking care of these fighters, yes. But there's a balance. And the balance is you have to, yes, in order to make the money, you got to give people a reason why you're making this money. Like if you're going there like Leo Santa Cruz and facing a sparring partner for $750,000, that's what they're gonna be. Okay, we got this easy, man. I don't have to risk my brains all this much. Yeah, I can beat up on someone I think is harmless, and it was killing, and it was killing PBC from jump in, because PBC was promising PBC level pay-per-view level fights, and you were getting this, and I was just like, I told people, I was like, I told you that this is the issue, like. They're matchmaking. They're not moving right. I think matchmaking was the strongest point. It's like they should. I mean, the talent they have, the amount of fights, a combination of fights that people that they can have, it should be without question. Like they should have crushed HBO when HBO started slipping. Like this should even be a factor. Maybe ESPN would probably still survive. Well, actually, BBC had fights on ESPN, and then ESPN. Over the top rank.
Well, let me say this, Pat.
Okay.
I was going to say, so Devil's Advocate would say
I was going to play Devil's Advocate.
PBC is not the only one making these type of fights. The only one putting the fighters into fights where they have an incentive to get a high purse, but face a chance. I'm sorry, I'm trying to be political, but I'm gonna take the political cape off. So these dudes get in the ring, getting $1 million bag, $2 million bag on all sides of the street, fighting people that shouldn't even be in the ring with them. Julian Sandongo. I'm not gonna say Julian Sandongo because he had to fight him, but Terrence Crawford has no ops. GGG is not fighting anybody. So what would we say to people that would respond like? That PBC, they're not the only ones that's doing it. Others are doing it too. That's basically what it is.
I was going to say, Pat, it was funny that you mentioned Terrence Crawford. I'm like, didn't Pat just refer to Terrence Crawford as the best fighter in the world just not too long ago? And I feel like I like Crawford a lot, but he gets a fair share of mismatches himself. I don't hear, top ranking their bullshit. Like, I don't care that Pat does his PBC thing. That's fine. I just wish that like we would be consistent with everything. I don't hear whenever the zone puts on bullshit. The zone. I don't hear it as much as people don't hear it as much as the PBC, and that's not really a Pat thing. That's an everybody thing. Feels like everybody's so anti-PBC that it's like now we got to come out and defend PBC because these guys are going too hard and putting all this energy into spewing hate shit towards PBC. Some of it justified, so I won't call it hate. But yet, on the other side, they're doing all the same things and crickets.
But the thing with PBC, though, and I hear this every single time. Whenever people compare like the fighters on PBC or HBO, then it's like, oh, PBC has the best fighters in the world. So that's we watch it. Like I hear it all the time. PBC has the best fighters in the world. PBC has the most fighters, and this is why. So like you're doing. So yeah, they have the best fighters. So you're not willing to put them on that pedestal. Like you don't want to see them in better fights. And then this is where I get like the Joel Zing and like I get all these answers that are not necessarily answers that make either a better sense or they lean towards just hardcore blind standing. And this is where HBO might have done it too, or the Zone people think the Zone do it now, but it's just like. Or ESPN, or this week ESPN this year. I don't know what the hell's going on with that. But PBC is like, oh, they put PBC at a higher pedestal. And then when I say that they have the best fighters in the world, so if they have all the best fighters in the world, how come they're not fighting the best fight? Like why?
Let me say this on the behalf of PBC because I feel like. As far as PBC goes, if we're talking strictly about PBC, the good fights they do go overlooked. Like Jared Hurd versus J-Rock. That's a good fight. And more than not, we actually do get good fights from PBC in comparison to the other ones. Like I can't really think of Golden Boy giving us Canelo and Jacobs. That was a good fight, but Ryan Garcia hasn't fought anybody good. Besides Ryan Garcia, I don't even know who Golden Boy promotes, really.
Lemieux.
Who?
Lemieux,
right? And, then you got Top Rank. Terrence Crawford needs all types of opponents. Lomachenko is getting really good fights. Definitely Lomachenko is getting good fights. But I just think that leaving out that Jared Hurd has good opponents.
No, here's the thing about good fights. You brought up a good point about good fights. The problem is no one watching them. Like I'm very quick to say that if he has like a good fight, like when Kami and Easter had that fight on Spike, or when Fanfara and Cleverly had that war. I'm like, yeah, those were fights, but people don't talk about them. I do. It's just like it's like. The good fights get ignored, but when you get to like the main stars, you get your Garcias, you get your Broners or whatever. They're not really fighting those type of fights, and it's just like no one is like naming the fights that I'm like these are the actual great fights of PBC. It's just like you guys. So are you guys just standing the name? Or you're not watching these fights, or it's just like what's going on? Like that's another thing. It's like the people who stand PBC a lot don't seem to watch these fights. I mean, I watch the cards, because it's always good to actually watch things, to know what you're talking about, because there's so many people that say shit and don't know what they're talking about. We all know people like that. So,
because you gotta. What about okay? So as a fan, I look at it like entertainment value. For example, there's been probably May. There's probably going to be at least 15 movies, maybe 20, that are going to have a better script and story than Endgame. However, at the end of the year, Endgame is going to be considered one of everyone's favorite movies of the year, even though there's better ones out there. And that's the same thing for me when it comes to boxing. Yes, there may be a better matchup between some lower name fighters, right? But at the end of the day,
like Peterson and Lipness, like I rave I think that's the best fight PBC has aired all day. But people talk about
Right.
and Garcia, which was a mismatch, a horrible mismatch.
We're going to talk about the main event fighters though, and that's why they get paid the big bucks. That's why some of these fighters on this card, even though they're going to have the best fight, they may have arguably the best fight of the night. They're going to bring home a combined $40,000. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, that's why the main eventers get the big bucks. So I got to talk about the main eventers. And when I talk about the matchups, all I could do is blame PBC off the matchups. We can't get mad at the promoter because of the fight, because the promoters are not fighting. The promoters put the matchups together. So yes, if you give me a great matchup, I'm going to say it was a great matchup. Now how it performs, I can't blame them. I can't blame you. Can't if we get for example Gervonta Davis versus Tevin Farmer, and that's a complete dud of a matchup. How we going to blame PBC?
Well,
You know,
unfortunately, there will be people that will, because unfortunately, there's a double-edged sword when you come with the quality matchup and the name of the matchup. Because, like for example, we just saw, Canelo versus Jacobs. On paper, that was a good fight, but the quality-wise, it ended up being a dud. So people could shit on that because it was a dud, even though before the fight they weren't hating retroactive. Like it's like almost like hating retroactively. You get what I'm saying? Like you can kind of
do it like this. I'm gonna do it like this so we can wrap up the show and we can all go. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if any of you guys listening, you would know that myself, News, P, Smoke, Pat. This dude sound like he just woke up. But hold on. So I'm about to wrap it up. Smoke, pause with this. So I'm letting the people know that we're huge hip hop fans, right? And I'm comparing PBC right here and the blame they get. So to me, we love hip hop. PBC is more like a record label, man. They're more like the record label. I can't blame, right? They're Def Jam. I can't blame. No, yeah, they're Def Jam. They're Def Jam. I can't blame Def Jam because they gave Nas the tools to make a great album surrounding him with Nature, Foxy Brown, AZ, with Dr. Dre on the boards, and you give them all that with heavy promo, heavy money to make the album, and the album turns out to be a dud. I can't blame Def Jam for that. I got to blame Nas. So that's why I don't understand why people blame PBC when the fight doesn't turn out how they want. That's not PBC's job.
I think
their job is to create the fight.
Because those guys are the ones that I'm talking about that really have the hate for PBC. So they're hating retroactively.
Yeah. It's like in the NFL when we see the Super Bowl. How you going to get mad because the Patriots and the Rams game turned out the way it did?
Easy.
Nobody thought it would. We thought that was going to be a great game.
Yeah. Well, I had actual hate in my heart for the Patriots. So
me
too. All right, y'all. So with that being said, we're going to wrap up episode 47. We're going to go around the table. Smoke, you woke?
Yo, what up?
Go ahead, talk to the people, man. We leaving out. We heading out the door, man.
All right, not without me talking. What up, y'all? It's your boy Smoke from @FreeSmokeBoxing, and just a message to all the people out there: do something nice, do something kind, be positive, and don't. If you're behind a cell phone or a computer or something like that, realize that you're talking to another person who you may run into one day. So if you might be on some crazy website like the Collie or something, talking crazy shit, you never know what's going to happen. Anyway, have a wonderful evening, folks.
Yo, what up? Stupid. What up, yo? It's Pat Scorp, the New England representative. And just to wrap up my whole PBC thing, I actually go to these cards. I get on a plane or go on the bus. I take my show on the road. You know what I'm saying? And it's usually in the ventures. So if I hate PBC so much, I wouldn't spend my hard-earned cash going to these events. Because like I said, I may not fuck with the product, but they do put. I don't have to stand a product in order to like a fight to the IC. You know, so like I said, you know, that's just what get that point across. But other than that, keep loving Pat Scorpio because Pat Scorpio loves y'all. And yeah, love, peace, and soul. Right on.
What up, y'all? You already know it's your boy P. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Bodega Boxes. So just hit the follow. Man.
News?
Oh yeah, I'm here, y'all. It's your boy News. No, I was trying to come back to meet. I was listening to us, but it's your boy News, representing Ringside Rave all day. Y'all know what it is with me, man. Wrapping up episode 47. Again, this was Does Hurd Run Continue versus J-Rock. I like to appreciate all my fellas for coming through. Shout out to P, man. He going through something, but he's still showing up. You know what I'm saying? Like a soldier. So shout out to him.
Salute.
You know, and prayers for his family. And, you know, with that being said, I'd like to thank all y'all for tuning in. We'll be back. I want to be back Friday. We'll see how the fellas feel because they talking about doing a special live fade hour. And y'all know how we get when we live. Y'all know how we get when we live. It's extra crazy then. So we might skip on Friday so we can come through on Saturday. You know, so and if that's the case, y'all better be here because if I'm sitting here and I'm sipping Ciroc and you got Berchelt and Vargas fighting, I'm gonna go crazy and it's gonna be crazy.
And if I got my Henny out, you already know what time it is.
Right. So with that being said, y'all, thank you for tuning in. This is your boy News representing Ringside Rave. This is the Fade Hour, and we out.
One.
One.